Hello folks, it's time to study a very important concept within AI or generative AI, which is called RAG, right? So it stands for Retriever Augmented Generation, right? Now, if you look at the word, it sounds a bit complex, right? As I always say, always look at the root word and try to break it down. So whoever would have coined this term must have thought about some logic why they kept the term RAG. So let's try and understand. So first of all, the first word says retriever. So retriever means that probably you are fetching something, right? Retriever. So you're retrieving something, right? Now I quickly go to generation. So generation, we all know, okay, you are creating something, right? So that is generation. Now what is augment? So augment is something that where you're doing a value add, right? So you are adding some value. So that's why it becomes retriever augmented generation. So in a way, you can think of it that you are retrieving, fetching some information, and you are actually then, based on the information that you have fetched, you are generating something, right? So let's try and understand by an example. Let's say you were not in the world of AI and you are doing a PhD, right? You are doing a PhD and you've been told to write a paper, right? You have to write a nice paper on a subject, right? So what will you do? You will obviously go to a library, right? You will look at, say, internet. You will browse or you will look at some books, right? So this is like your entire source, right? This becomes your source of information, right? So now you've created your source, and when you have to write the paper, obviously you will combine all these and then come up with a document, or you will come up with a paper, right? Same thing happens in RAG. So what is happening is, if you see here, the user is requesting, or you are putting a question, or you are checking something that actually goes inside the knowledge base. And in terms of what we've learned, we can think of it like a vector database, right? So you can think of it that it is going in a knowledge base or in a vector database, and you are retrieving that text. So this is the retrieval part, right? You are retrieving the query. So that retrieval query comes here, it looks at the knowledge base, the response goes back. Now, when the response goes back, it is getting back from your kind of vector database. Now it becomes a full prompt, or for the moment, you can think of it as an input. Now this input is then fed into the LLM, like a ChatGPT, Gemini, right? On basis of this, so you are using the best of both worlds. So you are using the source as your internal data, and then you are using the power of LLM to generate a response for you, right? So this becomes RAG, retriever. You are retrieving the information from your knowledge base. Augmented, you are adding value by using a ChatGPT or LLM and generating a response, right? So that's the beauty of a RAG. Now you might ask, but where will I use RAG, right? So I was actually thinking about it. Think about it that you're a bank, you're an enterprise company, right? Obviously, you will have your data sitting privately within your infrastructure or within your network. You don't want ChatGPT or any other, say, LLM to have information about that. So that is where vector databases come into picture. So your retrievals will happen from your internal source, and you are just using the capabilities of LLM to prepare a nice prompt to give you a proper reply. Right. So looking at the theory of it, RAG uses a retriever, as I said, to find relevant information, and a generator to create the response based on that info. I think it's pretty self-explanatory now. So now here we are saying, if you are asked for something like what is climate change, right? So the RAG will retrieve the scientific articles. Obviously, the scientific articles will be sitting in your knowledge base, and based on that, you can create a clear, concise explanation. A RAG can improve the response quality. So you'll see that previously maybe the developers might have to code some information that, okay, you're retrieving your information is like this. But here on the fly, you're generating based on the source data, right? You're using the external information and which provides more accurate and detailed answers. Now, again, here we can take an example where a customer support chatbot is using RAG to pull the product details. So you are, let's say, getting all the product details, right, from your internal database to answer the queries accurately. Right? So it can be applicable in various domains. It is adaptable to different use cases like customer service chatbots, educational tools, where precise information is crucial. So obviously where you need the specific information, probably you can't rely on the data which is sitting inside ChatGPT or OpenAI. So you are saying, no, I want to rely on my company's internal data source, right? So this is where you will use it. And it enhances the contextual awareness, right? So RAGs use the relevant documents, ensures the responses are contextually appropriate. So from the very beginning, we've been talking about context, right? Now this context you are getting from your source documents or in-house environments, but the LLMs have the capability to understand that context. And this is what the beauty of it, money in the bank and bank of a river. It knows the context. So this way it reduces the errors which can be seen in purely generative models. Right. Let's try to understand a bit more, because this was more for say easier way how it works, but in reality how it works. So first of all, think about it that you have a data source. Now this data source could be in the form of a doc, it could be an image, it could be a video, right? Now all these are they are passed through an embedder, right? So you can think about it that all my source is passing through an embedding model, which is actually generating some vectors, and these vectors are then kind of stored in a vector DB, right? That's what we studied, right? That is what a vector database is for, right? Now you've stored everything inside the vector DB, right? So this is 1, 2, and now we come to 3. Now let's say the user is now going through its chatbot and requesting some information, or this query is there. Now again, this query is back passed into the embedder to create more vectors, right? So then if you see, we are here from 3. You are requesting a query. Now that query is going via the embedder and it's creating the vector. So if you see here, number 6, your vectors are again going here. And then what is happening here is, then you are kind of doing a semantic search, right? So it's not a select star from MP where MP number is 10. Here you are doing a semantic search to look for the similarities. And based on the data that is fetched, now this data is fetched to a LLM, or a large language model, or ChatGPT, OpenAI, right? And then you are passing this through the LLM, and this becomes your prompt, what we studied previously. So your information that you are retrieving, right? This becomes a kind of a prompt for the LLM to generate. So in this direction it goes and it generates and gives the response back to the user, right? So this is what the workflow is. So user is submitting a query, right? User is submitting a query, right? The query is transformed into vector representation. So query is going into the vector representation via the embedder. It is going into the vector representation. Relevant documents are retrieved. So this is the retrieval component of it. The relevant documents are retrieved from a data source. Now, as I said, it could be a vector database. Based on the similarity, let's say you've got all the information, then you pass it through the LLM, and LLM will utilize both the query and the retrieved document. So it will utilize both so that it understands the context of both the query as well as the retrieved documents and generates a final response. So this is pretty much what a RAG is. I believe now you've got a very good understanding. If tomorrow you are talking to somebody that, hey, it's very important, we need to use RAG in our organization, I believe you can very well explain to them how does it work inside out. Thanks for watching.